Hello, and welcome back to our countdown to Easter. We're going to look at another, perhaps less reported incident in the run-up to the events of Easter. Now, just before Jesus washed his disciples' feet, he met with some people and in the course of the conversation predicted his own death. At that very moment, John records how a voice boomed out of heaven, affirming what Jesus said. And this was no imagined whisper. The crowds who were there said it thundered. And this is just one of many miraculous incidents John records in his write-up of Jesus' life. Although he doesn't always call them miracles, he prefers to call them signs, because for him they point to a much greater reality, often the reality of who Jesus really is. But John is at pains to point out that even after all this evidence, the crowd still wouldn't believe him. Don't you think this is interesting? That John uses the word wouldn't rather than just didn't or couldn't. There's something willful about their unbelief, and I think he found it sad. And he noticed something else going on in verse 42 of John 12. At the same time, many, even among the leaders, believed in him, but because of the Pharisees, they would not openly acknowledge their faith for fear they would be put out of the synagogue. Now, this shows that the events of Easter are rather more complex than we might think. It's not true that all the common people loved him and all the hierarchy hated him. Many of the leading lights of society believed that he was the coming Messiah, God's man on earth. And what is also true is that these Jews who realised Jesus was the Messiah felt constrained. They felt under pressure. Because if they came clean about their faith in Jesus, they would be, quote, put out of the synagogue. And this was very serious. They could suffer abuse and rejection, and they could be completely ostracised if they publicly followed Jesus. So today, let's pray for people who are secret believers. Believers for whom the cost to themselves or to their family is so great that they must follow Christ without revealing who is their real master. But now John adds a sentence that turns the meaning somewhat. They, he says, these secret followers, loved the praise of men more than the praise of God. Now this phrase is as sad as it is telling. The Jewish people he's talking about here were in the hierarchy, believers in Jesus, but they allowed their reputation to cloud their better judgment. They allowed their fame to trump their conscience. Such people are always more prone to engage in double thinking and even corruption than those who live without a crossed conscience. And the events of Good Friday are about to prove the point. People who only want the praise of other people often miss out on God's best. So let's pray for people in this kind of situation, and there are many areas where it happens today, that they will have the courage to stand up for what they know to be true, even if it means some reputational damage. God bless you. Well, from here you can subscribe to the channel, and if you click the little bell icon you'll get a ping when I put something new up. You can also see some of the other videos by clicking elsewhere on this screen.